Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Tuesday, January 13th, 6 p.m. Town Board meeting is called to order. First item on our agenda is I'll ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 2 on the agenda is to approve the agenda for the meeting. Any changes? Hearing none. Item 3, approve minutes to the December 9th, 2014 Town Board meeting.
Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes for the December 9th.
Motion Dan,
Second.
second Patty. Discussion? Corrections? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm an aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Public comment period. People wishing to speak, address the board or the citizens of Grand Rapids via the service will be limited to 2 minutes each, with a public comment period limited to a total of 30 minutes. Anybody wishing to speak this evening? Go ahead.
Harold Altenberg, 7020 Clover Road.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a question of what I'm doing out there when it becomes, it goes from agriculture, tourism to commercial. I was referring to the greenhouse you're quite aware of, and other activities that I'm doing there. This last year it was wild, wild being a lot of numbers of people, and crops were great. On the greenhouse turned into a spook house. We were able to put some signs in there, exit and move things around. I put a couple of smoke alarms in there, and we had corn stalks by the entrance. I didn't put them there. It was for windbreak. I put plywood there, and then the straw play area was near the back end of the greenhouse, and I moved that away, doing whatever I could for safety. I'm wondering if Mr. Bone give me some literature and what it comes under, but I didn't see anything there for agriculture or tourism. And the rest of the things I'm doing, am I going to come under commercial on some of this? There's one activity I had that creates quite a bit of traffic, and I'm looking for ways to handle that.
Okay, I'd suggest that you contact Mr. Bone again, the fire chief, and I'm sure if he hasn't the answer, he can get hold of the state Department of Ag and whatever to get an answer for you, Harold.
Okay, this ag tourism, I find it growing. We used to think that when the Nakusa Pumpkin Fest was on, that we would go down in popularity. We find just the opposite, and I think down on the farm we'd find the same thing. We never know how many people are going to show up. There may be none, and there may be, like this last year, the weather was great, and it was a tremendous amount of people.
Sure.
So,
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak to the board this evening?
Could I
Yes.
introduce myself?
Yes, you may.
Mr. Chairman. My name is Benjamin Tilburg, and I'm running for town supervisor. I'm a veteran of the U.S. Army for 4.5 years active, and 1.5 years in the reserves. Spent most of my life in central Wisconsin. Running for town supervisor to provide, to try and encourage the township to look into the future. I'm active in ecotourism for the 4 Mile Creek currently, if you've read the paper at all. And I'd also like to bring the township forward with renewable energy and start talking about some of the things we can do with that for the township. And would appreciate your consideration for vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak this evening? Mr. Ron Hitt?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Ron Hett.
Just going down the agenda here, and I'm not sure where the discussion is gonna go for this stuff, but from what I know about these particular items, I wanna voice my support for them. That'd be item number 7, discussion of 2015 monetary support for Reggie. I think that's a good idea. Number 8, likewise. Number 9, on-call compensation for, I think that's a plus to do that. Number 10, discuss revised compensation system for fire department members. I'd like to see that go ahead too. Continuing as a member of the Heart of Wisconsin, I think that's a good idea. Number 17, discussion of Wood County sales tax deeded property. I really don't know what that's about, so I'd appreciate some just explanation on that. And item number 20, letter support for volunteer firefighters and emergency medical personnel. I encourage you to support that too. So thank you much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
And Tom Laux, our CCA Media Coordinator, just came here, and we're on item 8, and just want to give you an update a little bit for your board that we would be doing for you regarding that, and maybe help you out. Our CCA Media will film and produce 14 town Grand Rapids meetings in HD, so we'll add an extra one. We used to do 13, we'll add an extra one for the same price. The video would be uploaded to our CCA Media's HD on-demand site within 24 hours of this meeting. The video would air on Solaris Channel 3, Charter 985, and our rccmedia.org live stream every Thursday at 2:30 until we receive a new one. A DVD of the meeting will be sent to the clerk for your record keepings and archived at our CCA. And we'll also be getting a new thing called a short 1-minute video in the future. We'll highlight or a specific topic that will be used on social media to help promote the meeting here, so people can know. So that, and the cost is still the same of $1,000 for a RCCA Media individual to come here and tape your meeting.
Thank you.
Right.
Anybody else wishing to speak? Hearing none, we'll move to the out of the public comment. There was no more?
No, that was
Okay.
it.
That was the record.
All right, we'll move to monthly reports. Fire Chief Don Bone, been busy, huh?
Slept a couple hours last night. Evening residents, town board. Last month, up till last evening, we had 32 calls for the service this month. 22 of those were EMS calls. We had 4 motor vehicle accidents. Obviously, it's the winter season and people tend not to all stay on the road together. None of those were serious calls, but we still do get called out for traffic control or protection or assisting with law enforcement and things. We did have 3 CO calls. None of those were actual CO found in the house, but you know, we do encourage, if you do have a CO call, if you aren't able to read the directions on the back to tell what the beeps are, you know, call, we'll come check your house out, give you some peace of mind that we at least know that, you know, we can't tell where the CO is coming from if we do detect it, but we can at least tell you if it is something that's there. We did have 1 motor vehicle fire, being a snowmobile out in the town of Grant. Not such a good outcome on that, but they won't be driving it down the road anymore. Last night we did have a assist with United Ambulance. We had a resident that had a structural failure in her house, became trapped in the house and unable to get out due to the minor collapse in the house, and we went and assisted United last night to help get her out and back on her way. So, and we did actually, the crew actually boarded the parcel up for her and stuff, and did everything we could for her last night, so she didn't have to try to do it herself at 1 o'clock in the morning. So, with that, we're still at full staff. We have 56 members, 6 EMS only. All the trucks are in service. We do have tanker 2 in for repairs. There's the corrosion repairs that were in the budget this year. That tank was originally purchased in 1984. Made it until now, getting a refurbishment and stuff, and you know, with any good luck, it'll still be in service for another 15-20 years. So that's the stainless milk. Looks like a milk truck going down the road. its only purpose is to haul water. We can buy a big fancy fire truck that doesn't accomplish anything more than that milk truck does, so. Like I say, those trucks were originally purchased in '84 and '86, and both tanks are on their second chassis, and hopefully gonna be going along in the future with a little tender love and care. The RIT team, which is a crew that goes out to assist firefighters if they're down in a fire, they're doing their training this evening, actually over at the fire station. Our EMS crew had our training last week with United Medical. It's kind of been out of the news with the Ebola. You don't hear much about it in the news, but it is still stuff that is going around the country. It's still precautions. It's a virus that's out there. It's not anything, but there's precautions that we need to take so we don't have an incident if it does ever get up into this area, and we hope it doesn't. Fire training will be next Monday. We'll either be doing it over at Midstate at the burn tower or at the town crew or town garage, one of the two. We're gonna be doing some work on metal roof ventilation. We used to just have metal roofs on commercial structures. Now the vast majority of houses are not, you know, there's a lot of them are going to the metal roofing structures. You can't cut it with a chainsaw to vent to get the hot gases, the smoke out of the house. So there's some other tactics that we need to use. We need to look at different types of saws and stuff that it's going to take to be able to accomplish that, because I don't think its stuff is going to go away. It's getting very prevalent in residential housing, as probably as much as the commercial. So that's what they'll be training on. Public relations, I guess we just want to thank Golden Eagle Log Homes again. We did end up, we burnt the house down on Eagle Road. That was a very good structural house for us to train in. We worked on there probably 8 months this summer. It was utilized by law enforcement, our local police department, the sheriff's department, numerous different fire departments came and trained there. It was a great opportunity, and appreciate Golden Eagle's desire to help us out. And they, like you said in a news article, they did end up spending more money than they would have had to tear it down. But they saw the opportunity to help us out, and they gave us a great training opportunity. So I'd like to thank them for their civic mindedness. Any other questions?
Any questions? I just want to comment on the practice burn of the house. I got to witness quite a bit of it, and you could really tell the value of a piece of equipment such as a ladder truck, where it can put the fireman right up on the roof right away, rather than having to haul ladders and buck ladders and get up. And you could do multiple sets on there with the crossover ladders, and it really became a tool that showed me how important it is that we have a ladder truck in our arsenal of vehicles. Just thanks again for all the work they did on it. And I think one supervisor made some pretty good chili. Anybody other comments or questions for the chief? Want to go to your safety report?
Sure. Safety report, we've had no injuries to report, which is good. One thing that we have been utilizing is the ice cleats, basically on our boots. We're slowly getting people to put them on, see the need for them. I was over yesterday over to the fire over in Clover at the Elizabeth Inn. Saw a lot of slipping and falling going on. There's a lot of ice gets created, especially in those temperatures. And there's a few fire chiefs, I think, we're going to buy some yak tracks today, because they give you the traction. It prevents the slip and fall injuries. If you slip and fall with an air pack on your back, land right on your back, it's a injury that you're not going to get rid of easily. So it's a good investment. They're for $22 a piece or something if they can prevent somebody from having a slip fall injury. So we're encouraging our police officers and everybody to try to keep them as available as they can if they get out on the icy conditions. So.
Thank you. Any questions on safety? Thank you very much, Chief. Move to the police department. Chief Peterson.
Evening, everyone. For the month of December, Grand Rapids Police Department handled 321 calls for service. This compared to 302 calls for service December of last year. It's approximately 6% increase in calls. Board members, you have a breakdown of those calls. And then for the year, the Grand Rapids Police Department handled 4,538 calls for service, and that compares to 4,279 calls for service during 2013. Again, overall, a 6% increase in calls. Police Department issued 12 written warnings and 49 traffic citations during the month of December. Part of that was for the Booze and Belts initiative by the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. December 11th, Officer Anderson, Sergeant Drinkwine, and myself, we completed trauma-informed investigations training. This was sponsored by the Wisconsin Department of Justice Training Standards Bureau at the Woodlands Church here in Wisconsin Rapids. It was a 4-hour training session that included offender-focused sexual assault investigations and the dynamics of victimization and sexual assault and domestic violence investigations. So it was very informative, and they had some excellent presenters or instructors at that session. December 15th through the 19th, Sergeant Drinkwine completed field training officer course conducted by the Public Safety Division of the Criminal Justice Center for Professional Education at the Fox Valley Technical College in Appleton. It was a 4-hour training program that basically certified Sergeant Drinkwine as a field training officer for the department. Vehicles in the department are doing well outside the normal maintenance, minor repairs. We did get our new squad in last Thursday. It's waiting for get into queue for have it all the equipment installed and radios and things like that, so it'll probably be a month or two yet before you actually see it on the road, but so far we're real happy with it, and I think it's going to be a good asset to our fleet. Finally, I'd like to recognize a couple people. This is from our Auxiliary Police Department, our Helping Hands initiative for the holiday season. Was another huge success. Grand Rapids businesses and individuals donated over $900 to this cause, which benefited 5 families here in the town of Grand Rapids. That included gifts, clothes, basic needs were delivered to the family on Christmas Eve day. And then we also provided food gift certificates were delivered on Saturday, December 20th, so that the families had time to go out and get themselves their food for a proper Christmas dinner. So at this time, I'd like to personally thank the Grand Rapids Auxiliary for their time and effort, specifically Sergeant Ashley Agan, if you could stand up, Ashley, and Sergeant Roxanne Nordbeck for their dedicated service. They pretty much are the driving force behind this initiative, and I don't think they get enough recognition for the things they do. How many years have we been doing this now, roughly?
Since the department began, so
Yeah.
07 was it? 2007?
Right, and they've always
before that too.
taken the lead on it and dedicate their time and efforts and to make sure it happens. So I'd like to publicly recognize them. And that's all I have. Again, if anybody ever has any questions or whatever, everybody knows where we're at, so I'm just around the corner there, so feel free to stop by and talk.
Question, Harold?
Yes, do you have any cadets or any trainees that can help out in different things like directing traffic and like that?
That's the primary mission of our Grand Rapids Auxiliary. The 2 young ladies you see sitting there, the sergeants there, they kind of take the lead on that. The Sergeant Drinkwine kind of oversees the auxiliary, and also Officer Jeremy Anderson. if you ever have a need for traffic assistance or crowd control or something like that at an event that you're having out there, you know, just what you have to do is notify us far enough ahead of time so that they can get volunteers and get people who are available at that time. When we have short notice, sometimes it's hard getting people together on the last minute. So the farther out that you can notify us that you have an event coming up, the more likely are that we'll have the proper support there. But that's all done through the Grand Rapids Auxiliary.
Okay, thank you. Sometimes we don't know if we're in need or not, and we might ask for them and then not need them, but better to have them than not have them.
That's right. If you're anticipating any crowd at all, it's better to have them there, because we can always send them home early or whatever, because basically their time is donated, and have them there, and then if they're not needed, then they're not needed. But I'd rather have them there than not have them there and need them.
Correct.
Any other questions for the chief? No, thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Going to move to item 6, which is the presentation of Reggie Regional Economic Group Initiative. We've asked, you'll see down our support for it is down the line item here a little bit, but Jason Grunberg had indicated that he'd love to come and give us a little update. A couple of you folks are going to give us an update of where you're going on the initiative.
You got that right. We love updating on Reggie. A lot of good things are happening right now. I just want to say hi to everybody here. Introduce myself first. My name is Jason Greenberg. I'm a longtime resident of Grand Rapids. I work for the Wood County Planning and Zoning Office as director. I also serve on the Town Plan Commission, so I'm here quite often on Monday nights. And with me, I have John Bergen. He's a longtime resident of the area and very actively involved with economic development, and currently the chair of the Regional Economic Growth Initiative. The last time we met was, or last time we talked to give you an update, I believe it was about probably 4 months ago. And that night we were probably one of the lower profile issues on the agenda because we were talking about snowmobile trails. But tonight we have your attention a little bit more here, so we can probably cover some of the items that we updated you with at that time, also some of the things that have materialized in the past few months here. But first, I just want to thank you for the past financial support towards Reggie. Without municipal support, there would be no regional economic growth initiative working towards economic development in the area. The municipal support is vital to keep those efforts going. And along with the municipal money, we have county money coming in, about $30,000 a year. And we also hope to have private funding to help fund Reggie in the future. In addition to that, we have the Encourage Community Foundation that's been a strong funder of Reggie with one-time donation or contribution, but I believe it was $150,000? 200,000. So it's really a joint effort to make things happen here. I'm sure some of you are sitting out there going, what is Reggie? What are you talking about? This was something that formed a few years ago. A few years back, the Encourage Community Foundation commissioned a study of economic, possibilities or growth capacities in the region. We really wanted to see what our capability here was for future growth. Because like many other areas in the state and country, we're going through some pretty tough times as far as downsizing and unemployment. At that time, a company called FutureWorks unveiled the study, and the study was unveiled pretty much to a lot of leaders in the community. And some of the things that came out of that study included the need to collaborate more on economic development. They pointed out that we really weren't being very successful doing things on our own. You know, being Grand Rapids and pursuing economic development on our own, or being Rapids and pursuing development on our own. We really need to work together. They also made a recommendation that we focus on something that we're very experienced with, something that we're very good at, something that we have a history with, and that's manufacturing in the area. I know a lot of people question that focus because they feel manufacturing is in decline, but there still is capacity out there for manufacturing growth, and we're starting to see that now. Another thing they pointed out is we have kind of a lack of leadership right now as far as economic development in the area. We have a lot of people doing economic development, and in a lot of cases doing it well, but they're not focused on leading it regionally, and we need to get somebody in that position to take the lead as far as it goes. So what have we been doing? That's a big question I get a lot of times, or a lot of people ask, is Reggie still around? And a lot of things we've been working on the past few months are pretty, not real glamorous things. A lot of times not for the faint of heart. Some of the things we've been working on is creating a 501c3, basically establishing Reggie as an entity that can do economic development in the area. And we worked with an attorney that was very well versed in that to get us through that whole process. And so now we officially are a 501c3. Last year we established a board. Up until October of last year, we were pretty much working with a group of about a dozen people that were helping Reggie along, helping form the group, but we really didn't have an official board established, and that was done at that time. I believe we have 8 board members. I serve on the board as a co-chair. John Bergen is the chair, and I want to say too, of the 8 board members, 4 reside in the town of Grand Rapids. So it really says a lot about what we have to offer in the town of Grand Rapids as far as quality of life, housing variety, and things like that. Another thing we did is we hired an accountant, because as a 501c3 there's certain reporting that we need to do, and we thought we should get in good hands with an accountant and make sure that we're doing everything by the book in regards to finances. We're also looking at hiring that lead economic development person to lead Reggie. A lot of the board members have other full-time jobs and can only commit limited time to Reggie. We really need to get that lead person in here to take efforts forward as we move ahead. One thing we're looking to do too is create a municipal forum. I mentioned before that the municipal funding is a very important part of Reggie, and we really want to have a strong way to communicate to and from municipalities. We feel that way is to have a municipal forum, where the communities that are part of Reggie identify a person to be part of that forum, and they will probably meet on a pretty regular basis, talk about some of the things that Reggie's working on. The communities will have an opportunity to comment on those things, make recommendations to Reggie. At the same time, we use that as a way to update the municipalities on what's going on with the Regional Economic Growth Initiative. One big area that we're also looking at pursuing this coming year is growing municipal support for this initiative. Right now we have 8 communities that are participating. That's Rome, Grand Rapids, Nakusa, the Village of Prairie Woods, Buren, Wisconsin Rapids, Vesper, and Pittsville. And there's really no limit as far as boundary for Reggie right now. We do realize a lot of other communities that will benefit from our efforts. We'd like to see them participate. So we're probably be talking to some of those communities, share what we're doing, hopefully get some support for them. A lot of the support dollar values are pretty much driven by the equalized value in the community. So that's kind of our basing the funding structure for participation. Another thing we're looking at doing coming up here is getting more business involvement with the Regional Economic Growth Initiative. Right now on our board we have representation from some pretty big businesses in the area. Urco Chemical in Port Edwards, Ocean Spray Cranberry is another one, and so right there there's participation at the board level, but we want to take it to the next level and get the financial support and help our funding model along. We looked at a lot of other collaborative efforts in the Midwest and throughout the country, and one thing that we've noticed is in a lot of cases the private funding exceeds the municipal funding that's coming into it. So we hope at some point in the future we can have a model that's more reflective of that. Probably the biggest accomplishment that we've had to date is the work that we've done on an infrastructure study, or as some people call it, a community competitive assessment. And the town's actually been involved with this. Arnie, the chairman here, Mr. Nystrom, was gracious enough to sit down with the consultants working on this assessment and talk about the town's role in our regional economy here. Through this assessment, what we're trying to do is identify what makes our area unique. What are our strengths? I mean, what's here that's going to draw business in and help business grow? What are some of our weaknesses that we have to be realistic about and address in the future? What are some of the opportunities that we know about and some that we don't know about? And what are some of the threats that we face as we move ahead? We selected a consultant for this. It was pretty much unanimous selection of the consultant. And one reason It was because this group had a site selector on their staff. So right now we're working with them, trying to see what site selectors nationwide see when they look at our area. We're getting some pretty honest, in some cases brutal feedback from them on some of our shortcomings, but at the same time we're realizing some of the strengths that we have. And a lot of that was funded, that process was funded by the state of Wisconsin, by the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. About 2/3 of that study cost is being funded by that. So we're trying, as we move forward, we're trying to leverage grant funding opportunities to do a lot of our work. At this point, we're turning it over to John Bergen. He's to talk a little bit about the assessment that's being done and maybe highlight some of the results we're seeing so far.
Thank you.
Well, we've hired Lupke and Associates. Another reason why we did that is they've done this in rural areas before, okay? So if we hired someone from Chicago or Milwaukee or whatever, we felt that it probably wouldn't be relevant for our needs and they wouldn't really understand what we're all about. So we're pretty confident they're doing well. And this site selector is a key member of that because that's the person that corporations hire to actually place a business, okay? Or to advise what kind of expansion a local business can accomplish, all right? So I'm just gonna give you a couple of bullets of what this site selector is now telling us, okay? What we'd really like to do is we'd like to have you allow us to make a thorough presentation of this as this report gets completed. They've done the infrastructure study. The next piece is they're going to do competitive benchmarking. So they'll tell us how we will look versus other similar communities. And one of the things that they're looking at is other communities that have lost a huge employer like the paper industry, okay? So others that have been through similar types of losses that we've been through. So anyway, we'd like to have you put that on your schedule somewhere, whether it's the whole group or whether it's your economic development subgroup or just exactly how you want to manage it. We'd like to be able to do that at some future date. And as Jason said, it's really critical that we have from you a liaison to work with Reggie. So someone to work on this municipal forum that keeps you informed and keeps us informed of your interests and needs. I'm going to give you, this is, you may not like all the things that are said here, but I'll give you what the site selector is saying. Okay, some good news. Power costs are less in this particular region than in many areas. Very positive. A negative. Multiple jurisdictions lead to inefficiencies and uneven cost structures, particularly for water and wastewater treatment. So, you know, Nakusa having treatment and Port Edwards having treatment and Wisconsin Rapids having treatment and so on, all of those types of things, you're duplicating facilities and you're building in a lot of costs. The new Clean Water Act enforcement is going to be really critical for this entire community. And it could threaten a particular employer that is dependent upon one of the smaller treatment facilities. A lack of modern available industrial buildings. Some issues with Wisconsin Rapids Power and Light reliability. A brain drain of our college graduates. We lose a lot of our young graduates. Recruiting of skilled maintenance and other skilled manufacturing workers. There's some of the businesses have indicated that's an issue. What's a positive? We just heard that from Jason. Quality of life. There isn't anything that you'll find too much better any place. Okay, town of Grand Rapids is a perfect example of that. Safety and security is considered a given for people in these communities. Very positive. So why wouldn't you want to live here? The river is very valued, but it's somewhat underutilized. It's one of the opportunities that we may have. Workforce and the community understands manufacturing. Okay? That's attractive to a lot of businesses. Most employers are satisfied with the people, with their employees, okay? Education attainment here is outstanding. Graduation from high school exceeds most areas of the country, so we can be really proud of that. MSTC is a real asset for us, particularly in terms of training technical people and staff. Finance and funding, okay? We had a forum of the banks, okay? There are assets here that could be invested. But if you talk to an entrepreneur, there's not a good mechanism in place to really help an entrepreneur. Something we need to do to help ourselves. Those are just some things that we need to think about, and I just wanted to plant the seed. A lot of other things will come out of this study, and we already have some of those, and I'm not going to take your time here tonight. But that gives you an idea of where we are with this infrastructure study and what the steps forward will be. The final step will be to come together with a strategy of a path forward. So I thank you very much for your support. I thank you for giving us the time to present here this evening. I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Any questions? Just one for myself. Do you have a time frame when you anticipate having somebody on staff to be the guru of chasing things out?
We have advertised, we had about 8 candidates. 3 of those were viable. One unfortunately took a job before we were able to get the hiring in motion. The 2 others, we're trying to set up times right now to interview them. So hopefully we won't be that far off.
Patty?
I've had people ask me if these candidates were going to be from Wisconsin or if they're out of state.
Well, one of the persons that has applied he's in Missouri right now, but is a graduate of University of Green Bay, okay, as a Wisconsin native. In fact, wants to get back to Wisconsin, okay? So the other actually is from Minnesota. Here again, we're kind of looking at folks that have had, you know, the rural exposure and the type of environment that we live in.
Yes, and that was their concern, you know, having someone that was a resident from Wisconsin would know Wisconsin best is their thought process.
Right.
Like
The
that.
challenge we have though is, you know, we need someone that really understands economic development, someone that understands how to put together some reasonably creative financial packages that reduce risks for the banks. So you've got to find that right combination of person that knows economic development and can interact with these site selectors and can work on the financing aspect to really help an entrepreneur. Because probably a lot of what's going to happen is we're going to have to develop what's here, not necessarily bring in anybody, you know. We might bring in some huge, big organization. I think that's probably an outlier. You know, if you talk to most of these folks, that's not what happens.
All right, Bill, do you have a question?
Yes. Your site selector, you said is local?
No,
It's
no, he's not local.
The company's name was Lupke.
Lupke and Associates.
And they're not local, they're out of state.
No, they're from,
East part of the state.
yeah, the eastern part of the state. Yeah,
It's by Manitowoc.
I forget the name of it. It's a little bitty town.
Okay. One of the things, on February 24th, 2014, there was a letter sent to Reggie from our chairman about annexation and how you can help out. Was that letter ever answered, or do you know anything about that letter?
Chairman, Tony, you talking about, or?
No, you. I have it here, it's February 24th, and it says, please continue to keep Supervisor Dan Paulson informed of the efforts
yeah.
and progress of Reggie,
Yeah.
which, are you familiar with that?
I know, I'm not familiar with that letter. However, we did
Yeah.
present to
They've been keeping us up to date.
Dan and his committee earlier. I think, Bill, you were present, as a matter of fact. We got overridden maybe with snowmobile trails that night, but we did bring an update, and we're more than happy to do it whenever you ask.
So, in the annexation of land that took place, you took any part of that? Made any suggestions to the
No, we
town?
have not. That really is, as we look at strategy down the road, that's certainly something that will be part of what we'll be interested in. But we're not to that point at this point.
And what part does Synergy play in with you?
Well, we've presented to Synergy who we are and what we're doing, okay? We see Synergy as a resource because they do have a network within the state, okay? However, Synergy is one person and a part-time admin, okay? So for them to really put much traction into economic development that's gonna help us is very difficult for them to accomplish.
Does Reggie take part in Synergy's Central Wisconsin Days, will they? Which is March 11th and 12th.
We'll likely have a representative from Reggie there.
Oh, you do?
Well, we don't have a committee yet, but we likely will. We see Synergy and a lot of the other economic development groups as partners moving, down the road here. We're definitely not in competition, with them. We all have the same goals. But like with Synergy, as John said, no disrespect to them, what they're doing, but they're very limited as far as staff and resources, and they cover a very large area of the state. Which in the end leads to little attention to our area here. There's a benefit to being associated with them. There's been training facilitated by Synergy that I've partaken in, that we probably will continue to do that in the future. But I think to rely on them alone, like relying on all the other economic development groups out there to move things forward, at this time, I don't think it's really a smart strategy for us.
So
They
as a
will be a resource.
So as a 501c3, you will lose your ability to actually go to the legislators. As a 501c3,
You cannot be a lobbyist.
right,
You cannot be a lobbyist, but you can represent your community needs, okay? And we have that on very good authority of the attorney that helped us form.
All right, any other questions? Or Dan, you got one?
Well, yeah, just regarding your letter, as
Yeah.
far as my communication with Reggie, yes, I've had several talks with mainly Rick Burton
Yep.
and that from there, and at the economic development meetings, which Bill, you were at every one and heard the updates from Reggie, which surprised me you forgot about him. But,
I should have asked you the question.
You should have, I would have gave you the answer. But you have been updating us on a regular, and we appreciate it.
Rick has been very helpful and very involved in the overall effort. He was part of the team that initiated the effort and of course works for Encourage, who really incubated us.
Yep. So thank you.
Any other questions? If not, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Cat.
Let's see, John, my name's Ron. And maybe this last discussion kind of hit on what I was going to ask you here, but does your initiative, does Reggie, have they reached out to state, national officials, organizations, governmental entities for ideas, contact?
The answer is yes, but not as much as we intend to.
Okay.
Okay. Our outreach at this point has been primarily to instruct us as to how we should form, okay?
Okay.
And what our path forward should be. So when we get to the point where we actually have a leader, at that point we will be doing more outreach. We actually have, the intent that this person we hire will be capable of approaching site selectors. He will participate in these activities for site selectors, yes. And of course, we reached out to WEDC. We received this $50,000 grant, which is supporting a good deal of this infrastructure study, okay? And they actually were very happy to see someone doing it as a region, and they asked us, will you please have your consultants structure this so it can be a model for other areas? Because there's too much of this, you know, this town is doing it and this city is doing it. But a site selector wants to see that the region is gonna work together. Because if someone comes in here, they're inevitably gonna need help from more than just the community they're in. Certainly the labor force is gonna come from many communities.
I like the answer, so thank you.
Thank you.
Can I add to that? You know, and some of the people we have on the board already have those established connections in their day jobs and what they do. For example, Melissa Reichert is on the board, and she's the president of her Wisconsin Chamber. Adam Taken from the city of Rapids is on the board, and he's their economic development specialist. And I'm on the Central Wisconsin Economic Development Fund, and I'm also on the board. So a lot of the people that we have on this board already have those connections established, so we're tied into a lot of those conversations with the WEDC and other state agencies as well as the federal government. So we're going to try to take advantage of those opportunities down the road, not only for guidance but also for funding opportunities. I think that we already, we're such a young organization, but the fact that we've already received that grant and support from WEDC really says a lot about the confidence that people have in our ability to move things forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate the time.
Okay, we'll move on to now agenda items. Number 7 is discuss the discussion of the 2015 monetary support for Reggie, and I believe the amount we said was $78.45. Is that the correct amount?
That's what it
No, that's what it was last year? Did we raise that by?
Do we know, that was what I was gonna ask,
Yeah.
there's an amount that was set.
Right.
Is there any established amount that you're requesting from the municipality?
As I mentioned earlier, the amount that we came up with was established based on property values. And we've been using the same number for the past few years, so we don't anticipate it'll change for this year. At some point, we are gonna have to correct it, so at some point, it may actually go down or it may go up based on property values increasing or decreasing. But I think the number that we gave you in the past was $78.45.
That's correct.
And that's what we'd be asking for,
That's correct,
again, for
okay.
support.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, then discussion on the board. Is there a motion from the board to put the 2015 monetary support to Reggie to $78.45 as last year?
I'll make a motion to, that we support Reggie and this in the amount of $7,845.
Okay, motion by Dan, second by
I'll second.
Kathy. Further discussion? Go ahead, Bill.
We're the only town in Wood County that is supporting this. And the villages and the cities that can annex from us, of course, are supporting it. There's no other town except the town of Rome that is supporting it. But I'll still be voting for it.
Well, I think that's their idea, hopefully, is, in my opinion, is that they're gonna expand on this, and sometimes you have to take the lead. Any other questions?
I just have a comment that
Go
I'm
ahead.
glad to hear that there's 4 out of the 8 people that live in the town of Grand Rapids, so that's a bonus. And I know having you on the plan commission and then being a liaison that way, you know what's going on pretty much from our plan commission. And, taking that to your meeting when you meet, I think that's, those are 2 real big perks for the town of Grand Rapids. Thank you.
Dan?
Just from my experience with Reggie and talking to a lot, the members and the people involved, a lot of the stuff that they have done, like so far, is just to establish a solid base. They're started from the ground level, and I think they have a very good understanding of where they're going and where they need to go, but are being somewhat cautious, and making sure that all their I's are dotted and T's are crossed. I'm glad they are taking the time and doing it instead of going back and maybe making some very serious errors as far as fundraising and that. So it's good to see. And like I said, yeah, we love to be updated, so we will keep that communication going.
Please do.
Bye.
Any other board comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I have an aye, any opposed? No opposed. Item number 9 is, 8, 2015 monetary support for River Cities Community Access. As Tom Loke indicated earlier, the same request of $1,000 with one additional taping, and I would assume that's probably the annual budget meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any other questions for River Cities Community? Board members, if not, a motion?
I'll make a motion to support the River Cities Community Access for the amount of $1,000.
Motion Patty, second
I'll second it.
Dan. Further discussion? Bill?
Yes, one of the things is, if I may ask Tom, that there is another channel available, correct?
We only have one channel, which is on Solaris 3 and 985 on Charter. It's the same content at the same time. So right now, we only have one channel.
But another channel is available to this area?
No,
Okay, so
probably not, no.
when did we lose it? We must have lost it in the last year.
We've never had a channel since I've been there.
Yeah.
So we only have those, that's one.
So you had indicated at one time you would be willing to go into the schools or anything and train people how to do this?
You bet, we have that right now.
And so if any municipality sponsored such a thing, such at Mid-State or at the senior class, because television and what you're doing is a big thing nowadays, cameras on scene. You're still open to that?
Yeah, we are open for the community producer portion. We would gladly help. They just need to register with our HR department. And if that clears through, then they come to my office. I do a one-on-one training, and it's open to anybody in the Southwood County area. We don't limit it to the city of Wisconsin Rapids people. And at this point, there is no cost to any of the training for anybody at this point.
And they could, say the town of Grand Rapids had some high school person come and do it, and they could use your equipment?
They could, they just would have to meet the guidelines that are set forth by our station. They would be trained through us. Yes, they could do that if they'd like to. There's just some areas that they need to go through on the training that's provided by us at this point, no charge to any other communities.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, any other questions on the support of Reggie, River Cities Community Access? We've got too many R things going today. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I am an aye, by the way. All right, item 9 then is discuss the proposed on-call compensation for fire department officers for office coverage on weekends. Don, do you want to explain? No, go ahead, please.
I have a question first, Mr. Chairman. How are we,
We have the second item. I would suggest that you, number 10, that you would abstain from.
okay,
You're okay on this one?
is the secretary treasurer compensation involved in the officer?
No, that's in the second one.
That's in the second one?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're okay.
So with those comments, so what, this is what Don is going to talk about
Yeah,
now?
right.
And this came from where?
Came from him to the chair of the public safety.
So this is a committee report?
I wouldn't say it's a committee report.
Okay, because this is the first time I saw it.
Well, just when you got your packet.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I guess since I took over as chief 2 years ago, obviously I'm there every day, all day, see every aspect of the fire department. And one of the downfalls that I have noticed is on the weekends. We have, we're a volunteer fire department, everybody has jobs, everybody has lights. We have 56 people. We currently have 10 officers. We have no system in place to determine if somebody is available specifically on the weekends. During the weekdays, predominantly we have a pretty good knowledge of who's around on the weekends. Predominantly in the summertime, we have numerous people that camp They camp out of town at resorts, Minocqua, all over the area. I guess we don't have a system in place to ensure that there's at least one officer that's available to be on call if there's an emergency that happens in the 3 townships that we cover. We cover 12,000 population areas, what our fire department covers with our 2 contracted areas. And I guess I just feel that it was necessary to bring it to the discussion level and to determine whether or not we should be responsible and have somebody that we have a system. We know that there's at least one officer that's gonna be able to make the call. We have computer programs that tell us people can call in, they tell us who's coming if they're available. But you have to have somebody that can read that data, determine if they have the staffing necessary for the call, if it's gonna require calling mutual aid. Obviously, if you have to call mutual aid by the time you make the phone call, or you make the call to the county, get the stuff in place and get the people here, it can be a half hour, 45 minutes by the time a department gets here to back us up if we don't have the staffing necessary. And that happens quite frequently. Yesterday we were over in Stevens Point, or in Plover. I think there was 6 or 7 fire departments there. They actually went through about 3 different steps in the mutual aid process to get enough staff there to handle that fire. So I guess I'm proposing that we would have 1 officer on call predominantly in the summer months, 36 weeks out of the year. Obviously, the summers when more people are out of town, they're up north. The winter months, obviously, we have more people that are around the area. We do have some holiday times that, you know, we have people that are, you know, partaking in their Christmas events, things like that. And I guess I just want to see if the board is willing that we would have a person. There's no guarantee if all the 10 officers tell me they're going to be out of town. Obviously, I'm around as much as I can, but I'm not here 24/7, 365. And I just, you know, what I'm proposing is that the person be on call from 6 p.m. Friday night, so 6 a.m. Or 6 p.m. on Sunday night, which is when predominantly people are coming back home. They're gonna be home, we're gonna have the staff necessary to at least make the initial call. The compensation for that time period would be $50. If you do the math, that comes out to not a whole lot per hour. That person would be responsible for being in the area and physically able to respond and handle the situation that's presented to the fire department.
That's approximately $1,800 is what.
That comes up to a whole $1,800 per year, correct?
Okay.
Right now, are you done there?
Yeah.
You got 10 officers here. Where do the safety officers come into play? Are they,
Safety officers are strictly on scene of a structure fire.
okay, they're not considered
No.
part of that, okay. And currently, we have 3 captains, 4 lieutenants? Or is this what it is right now, 4 and 4?
Currently, there's 3 captains, 4 lieutenants. I'm proposing going to 4 captains and 4 lieutenants in the next portion.
Yep.
So this item is to discuss whether we are in agreement that it's worthwhile to expend $1,800. So during the summer month that we are hopefully relatively assured that we have an officer. Now, we always will have firefighters, but you still need to have that officer that's in charge to make the initial onslaught and whatever. So the design of this is to be sure that somebody is in our area to take coverage. We don't want to be slipped and find out we have no coverage. There's neighboring communities that get paged in various calls and never show. Our intent is to be sure, and that expenditure, $1,800, is all covered in what the wages budget was, $50,000. It's broke out apart from it separate, so that we can gauge the support of the board for that piece itself. So discussion on that piece.
Mr. Chairman, I was just gonna comment that I think, to me, that's a minor investment to assure extra coverage and safety for the town, and what they get for responding, which will come up in a bit here as well, but it's exactly like the chief had said, for $50 for a weekend. I applaud them for even doing that for the whole weekend for $50. It's just, that comes out to very few dollars per hour. So I think it exemplifies their leadership that they take in our community, and I think we should show support for that.
Other questions?
I agree with that too, but the other part of it is, are we gonna vote on each part individually? Okay,
This item is this item only.
okay. So I would make a motion that we compensate an officer $50 per weekend for on-call, up to 36 weekends per year.
Motion is made, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Dan, second by Kathy, discussion.
So currently, all 52 weeks are supposed to be handled by the police chief, and that is part of his salaries? I mean, not the police, the fire chief, sorry, and that's part of his current salary?
Not necessarily, his salary isn't for 365 days a year.
Okay. It's for a 40-hour
It's
week?
for 2,080 hours a year.
Okay.
So if he were absent, it would be, or even, ill, or whatever it may be, if he's not able to respond, that's the purpose of having an acting chief 1 and an acting chief 2, and then the captains and the lieutenants that follow.
Quite frankly, the over the 40 hours is the time that we get the weekend calls and the evening calls that the chief and Captain 1s, 2s, and 3s are primarily volunteering their time. We just want to, with this option, would be a little more secure in our mind that in the event that the chief is not available, that we have one of our direct inline fully able to complete the assessment and the job on staff and ready to go.
So, as an example, on the budget, or not on the budget, but like on the monthly vouchers that we see, there's some of the firemen's wages are paid, like, I see like a $200 fee. Is that like a monthly fee for them?
That's a quarterly payment to them. They get paid quarterly for the number of jobs, and that's based upon the schedule that we'll talk about in the next item. They're paid from that. They primarily calls, and I don't want to go into the detail of that right yet, but they get paid per call, obviously.
But to answer your question, I think is each officer, depending on the rank, gets a quarterly stipend or quarterly for the duties which involve being either a captain, assistant chief, or lieutenant. So they are given a quarterly,
Okay, so,
above and beyond their fire calls.
right.
Okay.
So would this be this to me sort of seems like a duplication of that wage or fee.
Well, if you're talking about referencing the budget amount, what's in practice right now is in place. It's always been in place. The only thing different that we're considering right now is the $1,800 additional. Those current process and wages that were in place are in place based upon continuing services, and so much per call for EMS, so much call for fire services. And it's basically a stipend.
I think I see where Patty's going, though. She's thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm perceiving your message incorrectly, but in the past, when we paid quarterly to the officers, was that part of that responsibility as an officer for receiving a quarterly stipend to be available on the weekends? And I don't think that concept was ever there, no.
Okay.
So that quarterly stipend that was given to the officers was for the responsibilities that was placed upon them at that time. And that this is now a new outlook to how to provide even better, improved, changed service, particularly on the weekends when there's less availability. So that, yeah, that if that's the way
That's
we're
pretty
going.
much what I was thinking, but however, by doing this, it almost seems like they've become a less of a volunteer or not a volunteer and become more of an employee, where are we gonna be crossing some lines as far as that goes, as
No.
far as?
No, because we won't still require them. It won't be like, this individual's on this weekend and this individual the next and this individual the next. If I understood correctly when the chief had explained it to me, when I had some questions, was it's still voluntary. Who's going to be on this weekend or next, and get a schedule hopefully established well in advance to know where the gaps are, but it's still voluntary.
And it would be no different than what it was in the past, and if we go back to our EMS a while ago, you signed up for a block of time, and you were the EMS person for that block of time. That got to be more and more difficult, and our previous chief had difficulty with it, and changed to this style where we put the call out and we get the EMS out there, so it'd be no difference in the wages or the benefits or anything, is that? It's be pretty much the same. Bill, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, yes, I'll be voting no against this because it is a volunteer fire department. I was quite surprised to see this in the packet, and I wanna see what other volunteer fire departments are doing. And this is just, the reason I voted against the budget is because it's what this is we tax the people, now we're going to spend it. No, I'm voting no.
Dan?
One other clarification too, is this is for 36 weekends, up to 36 weekends per year. In our understanding, in the talk, it may not be 36 weekends. Okay, there may be, it may only have to be 20 weekends or whatever, but, so just because we are saying 36 isn't automatically mean it's gonna be that way. Now, it could, depending on what's going on and whatever. But just, and we are asking these guys to, like I said, more or less, obviously not stay home. They can go throughout the community, but they can't, they're gonna be asked to be able to respond, like I said, at any moment, regardless. So it is pretty much, they can do stuff at home or whatever, but you are dedicating your weekend and to the fire department and staying, ready to respond.
All right. Go ahead, one more time, Bill?
Yes, this is part of the 5-year plan or 3-year plan or the strategic plan, and I guess we're gonna piecemeal it, and that's another reason I'm voting no.
It's your prerogative. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, in response to the strategic plan, I mean, that is just started. And it's like I have explained in the past that that's gonna take time to implement and get in place. And that this is simply one effort to try and show the department and show the community how we care about them and to assure that that coverage is there. I think $1,800 is a very small amount to show that investment in our area.
Okay, any other discussion? Or not, the motion was to approve the $50 per weekend on call for a maximum of $1,800 of 36 weekends. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm an aye, any opposed?
No.
Motion carried with 3 and 2. Item number 11 pertains to compensation for 10, revised compensation system for fire department members, and Dan, I assume because you're a member, you're gonna abstain?
I will abstain. I'm gonna go sit in the
You can sit in the seat.
cheat seat. All right. You won't look any better from this side.
All right, we'll move to that item, and Don, you want to explain that again then?
Yeah, I guess, presenting this to the board has never micromanaged the fire department to the extent of the money was allotted to the fire department for expenditures. In the history of the fire department, it's been up to the fire department chief to manage the funding of it. I'm asking to make a couple changes. I want to apprise you of what my wishes are on it and get your feedback on it. I encourage anybody on the board to contact any volunteer fire department around to determine what the compensation levels are for the average volunteer fire department. In this area predominantly, you will find that we are by far, with the exception of there's one volunteer fire department that gets no compensation whatsoever, and they are a private company. But I encourage you to talk to any fire department within this area to determine, you will find out that we are by far the least compensated fire department anywhere in this area. So I ask you very stringently to find out, do your math, and understand why we take this seriously. Our firemen are compensated $15 per call. That call can go from a half hour, 15 minutes, similar to a board meeting. A board meeting can take 5-10 minutes, could be 2 hours tonight. Our fire calls are the same thing. We have no idea when we leave our house if we're going to get to work, if we're going to be at work, if we're going to have to call in sick, whatever it's going to be. They're compensated $15. What I'm asking for in this change is that for that $15, they have the first 2 hours for $15. After that, they would be compensated at a rate of $10 per hour. If the call turns into 4, 5, 6 hours, maybe it'll turn into 3 days. Who knows? These guys are losing their pay from work, and I guess I'm just asking that we be allowed to compensate them so it's not costing people money to provide service to the fire department, to the town, the 12,000 residents that we serve. The members, like I said, they're 2 hours. Last year we had 8 calls out of our entire year that were over 2 hours. Predominantly those are mutual aid calls on major fires, or they're a major fire in our township that we have to attend to. We can't, at the end of 2 hours, just say, well, that's it, we're done getting paid, so we're going home. We don't do that. I'm asking that we be able to pay them $10 an hour stipend or pay for that. The training is similar. Our training drills are typically 2 hours. To be compensated at $20 for the 2-hour training drill. If the drills go over that, which is predominantly just when we have an all-day Saturday drill, if we burn a house, we do all-day EVOC training, things of that nature, that they be compensated at $5 an hour for the extended period of time that they're doing the training that's required in order to stay as a volunteer fireman. I guess the word volunteer isn't what it used to be. Nobody volunteers and doesn't get compensated for anything. You volunteer to be on the board, you're compensated to be on the board. All I'm asking for is that the volunteer firemen be looked at with the regard that they deserve, for the service that's provided to them, and that's what I'm proposing. Everything that's proposed is staying within the budget that was set, and I thank our guys for what the service, for the $157,000 that we bring into this town by providing the service to Grant and Saratoga. If you didn't have firemen, you wouldn't have that contract. So I guess I don't believe that I'm asking for anything out of line, and I'm asking for your approval of what we presented to stay within the budget. At the end of the budget, we're over. We won't get paid for the end of the year. I don't think too many other places work that way.
Discussions?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. I want to know if I heard you correctly. You were talking about the number of calls and the information you provided us. You said there were about 8 calls last year that exceeded 2 hours?
Correct.
8 of the potential 120?
8 of the 120 calls
Okay,
were over 2 hours,
okay.
ranging from 2.5 hours to 6.5 hours.
Which
Go ahead.
then is why you feel confident that you can stay within budget by
Correct.
presenting this proposal?
I mean, obviously, if we have 35 major structure fires, it's hard to predict them, but
Right.
typically, our calls have been historically in the 100 to 120 calls per year on the fire side for the 30 years I've been on the fire department.
Questions? Patty?
I've been really thinking about this, well, we get our packets on Friday and that's when I had found this information. So I've been thinking about it since then and I just wrote up a little blurb here to my, to tell you why I am voting no again on this. I am wanted to be part of the strategic plan and I feel we're moving forward with that, you know, as far as getting a plan together. I don't think we're putting the cart in front of the horse as far as coming up with this proposal right now. And first of all, I want to say that I support the fire department and respect their loyalty. And they have a lot of personal investment in this community. And it is so immeasurable, their loyalty and their investment that they have. And it's equally important to acknowledge the efforts of this fire department and looking forward and looking ahead toward maintaining the quality of our service to the community. Along with these acknowledgements, it's vital that we add to this conversation the ability to prioritize and bring balance to all services across the board to the benefit of the community. And I'm certain we would all agree that the township deserves nothing short of the very best. We should, the very best, and we should work together to look at how all township efforts and costs impact one another to ensure we maintain the level of quality of services that our community expects. These are a few things we should put on the table. If the goal is to prioritize township costs, and we know that our budgets have reasonable limits, we should ask ourselves if this increase in staff and cost is bringing the best value or benefit to the community expects. Also, in relation to our total operating budget, does this increase mean that we have to take something away from another important program and lessen that value to the community? I am not opposed to engaging the notion of this improved fire department or this program, but I'm not sure if this is the right initiative right now. However, we need to have more information in order to facilitate this decision. And I don't know what the program is going to be down the road or where we're going to, but I think we're putting the cart in front of the horse right now.
Respect your, let me first, Mr. Chairman. Patty, first off, I want to correct you on whether we take something away from another budget line or not. This all fits within this $50,000 that was budgeted for fire department compensation. That all fits within that budget. And that's the exact amount that we budgeted for those services. Correct? So, you know, I respectfully disagree with how your thought process is because I understand that when we built this budget, we addressed all those issues. We said the fire department wages, we're gonna set it at $50,000 for those wages this year. This proposal comes within it. All it does is get to that period of time when a fireman is on the job for more than 2 hours to then compensate him for a slightly little more money to be away from his job or wherever it is. That is all it's doing. Even with that increase, if you want to call it an increase, it still fits into that budget line that was presented and approved by everybody. So that's where I want to go. Chief, did you want to follow up, or is that?
I guess I was just interested in what are you opposed to the compensation beyond the 2 hour period? Or are you opposed to compensation totally, that you don't want us to be, the firemen to be compensated anymore? Or which part are you objectional to? It's, you know, we've been compensated forever.
I'm not sure if this compensation is going to fit to where, I don't even know where the fire department wants to go, or, you know, where the 3 to 5 year strategic plan. So are we putting this thought process or this idea of compensation or whatever, is it gonna fit with the
But
three,
if it don't, we
you know what
change
I
it.
mean? Right.
Kathy, did you have, and then Bill?
I do, but if Bill's been holding his hand, he can go first.
And, you know, I don't care to speak on something that ain't a motion on the floor. However, I'm going to vote against this, and I think it's unfortunate that this thing loses because it was a vote of 2-2, and therefore the motion is lost. I think there should be more conversation on this. The fact that I speak against the motion just brings up more questions. It's like I'm against the fire department, and I'm against the way we're doing it. This was supposed to be a 2-year plan, and that's what I think we should talk about. I think it would be unfortunate, there's some good things in here, but we're not talking about it properly. Where you're getting after Patty because she votes no, you're getting after me before I vote no, just like the Reggie thing. You know, well, Bill, we did that. I didn't ask those questions there. You gotta, you know, I represent the people in the town of Grand Rapids just like you do. I'm not representing the fire department, I'm representing the people. I wanna show them that this fire department needs it because I studied it. So therefore, I would make a motion to table this.
I second
item.
it.
There's motion been made to table the discussion on that line, and it's
The
been
motion.
second, the motion has been made to table. And there was a second by Patty. All in favor of the
Wait,
table?
question, discussion
You
yet?
can't
Or
motion to
not, you
table.
table?
Correct, Bill?
Well, I say, I'm wrong to say, you can have discussion on it because a table to when, it's not indefinitely postponed. But I'm pretty sure that the gentleman there will tell you, he told me that time that after we left the meeting that the table was discussion on it. Correct, Ben?
I think so, yeah.
And Ben goes to a lot of different meetings.
The table does allow discussion yet?
I think this.
Within Robert's rules, I think so.
I think it's pretty great when I've read it, but I mean, I have no problem allowing discussion on it. But typically, when it's been tabled, we just tabled it and brought it up at a next item. We've done that on legislative and every other way, so I guess if Kathy wishes to speak to it.
Well, I just wish to say that first, when we talked about fitting within a strategic plan about considering any firefighter compensation, you know, years past, the former fire chief would come to us, he would ask for a compensation change, this board would support it, and it was done. Because we believed in what was needed for our department. And there was no strategic plan, we didn't need something on paper to say, this is why we should believe what the chief says is in the best interest of the department. So it's a little disappointing because as well, when the strategic plan comes forward, so then if we have in the strategic plan that we need to consider compensation, are you saying that you would openly consider that there needs to be compensation? Because we know that that was already addressed in the strategic plan, and we know that that is just the writing on the wall. But having said that, I can see that there's not gonna be a motion that's gonna pass, so we may as, you know, I will vote in favor of the table just because I want to see this conversation coming up again very soon.
Okay, motion made, go ahead,
I
Chief.
guess just for clarification, so am I to continue practice as?
Wages are the same if it, that would be, because there's no change approved. So the current policies in place, the way they are, is what they are until committee or some other avenue brings it back to the board again. So, motion made to table, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, I'm opposed, carries 3-1, it'll be tabled to a future meeting. Item 11, discussion continuing as a member of Heart of Wisconsin. Judy, what do we have for numbers from them? What do we got? $375 plus $50 optional for a business and education partnership program. Total of $425 or the standard membership of $375. What's your wishes?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure, unless somebody here can tell me what services did we receive from last year's membership as a Heart of Wisconsin member?
A lot of their publications, they'll list us as members, as some of the events that they did, the Cranberry Fest, if you want to call it, whatever those used to be. We always had notations on there of Grand Rapids. So, I mean, our name is on there, Heart of Wisconsin. Do they come and visit us and talk to us on a weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, or once a year basis? Frankly, no. We know they're there, we send our citizens to there. Citizens in Grand Rapids can go to their meetings even, or some of their seminars, even if, whatever, but we can use this. I mean, it's optional. We've supported it probably, I want to say 5 out of maybe the last 8 or 9 years. I think there was a couple of years we didn't, Bill, correct?
Right.
Money was put in the line so that if we chose to budget it, money was there.
And that amount was $280 that we budgeted?
Yep, budget time, I guess I didn't remember that we were under, or it was cheaper for us last year than what this gonna be. So if we go with what is budgeted, the 280, you aren't gonna have a membership.
We don't have a membership.
Okay.
Membership is $375. For discussion's sake, I'm gonna make a motion that we get the annual membership, for $375.
I will second that motion.
Motion Ed's, second Bill, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
I got, you know.
You got one?
I got one. Just as far as, you know, what do we get out of the Heart of Wisconsin Chamber? We're part of this community, and being a part, we're supporting it. We do, our residents do have access. We do get a little bit of notation in their brochures or for the different celebration, firemen's picnic, whatever. But I just, for $375, like I said, we are supporting this community, similar to what we are with Reggie or other ones. And I really believe in it. So,
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm an aye, any opposed? Unanimous. Item 12, Chairman Nystum's recommendation for the Board of Appeals that are coming up for renewal. I again recommend Gil Lakin for chairman, member John Foley, Mike Edwards, Mark Thompson. Mark, my recommendation would be to move as the first alternate, as he's indicated to me that is not always possible to get at it, but his wealth of knowledge sure wanted me to have him on the first alternate. And that with doing that, then Mr. Ron Hitt would move up to full membership status. That's my recommendations.
I make a motion to approve the chairman's recommendations for Board of Appeals 3-year terms.
I'll second it.
Motion Kathy, second Dan, discussion?
I have a question.
Yep.
Okay, so, I understand that, Mike Edwards does work for our, town as far as electrical work.
Sure does.
Does that interfere with anything as far as Board of Appeals or, having a, like a financial benefit of that,
No.
you know, being it's
Just-
a
just-
Board of Appeals and.
Yeah, the only
That's
thing
just a
that could
question.
ever come up, Patty, that I would say is if there was an issue came up that might be related to electrical, he may have to recluse.
Oh, would that would
But
be it?
that'd be the
Only
only.
if he had a financial gain.
Only if he had a
Yeah.
If it was a
Oh,
job he was
financial.
working
Only if
on.
he,
Okay.
it's his job he's working on, he has something to financially gain. That's,
Oh, that would be the
that's
only time.
what your
Okay.
definition of that is.
Okay.
So, no, there isn't. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm an aye, any opposed? Thank you. All right, move down to 13, approval of Chief Peterson attending Chiefs Conference in the Dells, February 8th to 11th. It's nice that they put these in, so it's a central part of the state, so we don't have to travel far.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the training request.
At cost of $486, correct?
Estimate.
Estimate.
A second.
Motion Bill, second Kathy. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm an aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Discussion safety award for town employees. We had another good work comp year, so this would be 2013. They refunded an actual $5,600. $6,400. 5664 we received back from work comp because we had very few claims. It's always good. The last time we had a check like this, we did a little gift to our employees with a safety-related shirt or jacket or sweater or whatever. Does the board wish to do something with that back or sit on it, or what do you want to do? If we sit on it, it goes just to the general fund, of course.
Well, it is their actions, their behavior, their good practice that gives us that reward. Didn't we send this to, I think it was Personnel Committee to come up with some parameters of dollar amounts or something, I believe,
We did that the last time,
the
yes.
last time?
And if you wanna think about it, I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention, and if it's something that you wanna bring up again after you have a chance to think about it, or if, yes, no, doesn't matter.
I'd like to see the personnel committee come back with a recommendation, possibly.
Motion Dan to have the personnel committee come back with a recommendation. Is there a second? I'll second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm an aye. Any opposed? Opposed. All right, here we go. Approval of liquor license for Marjorie Steakhouse. Marjorie Tell is here this evening, correct? Finally getting to you. Paperwork is all indicated that you're gonna take over on the 19th, and there is a release on the back of it as of that day from Jay Gabe, so it appears that everything is in order. Is that correct, clerk?
Yep.
Board recommendations.
I'll make a motion that we approve the liquor license for Marjorie's Steakhouse.
I'll second. Any discussion? Any changes coming?
Yeah, a little, but we're gonna keep it simple at first, just so that we get all our ducks in a row and streamline our processes and
Sounds good.
we have some breakthroughs and some exciting things, so we hope to see all of you there.
All right. Any further discussion? Any questions on the board? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm an aye. Any opposed? There, a rare unanimous vote.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Anything we can do to help.
Just come on out.
Did you wanna stop in and get the license and do the money part of it at the same time, or do you want me to mail it or call you tomorrow?
Yeah, I can stop in tomorrow. I'll call you in the morning.
Okay,
Okay, thank
that's
you.
fine.
Sounds good. Thank you.
And when is your official opening day?
We're looking at February 3rd.
February 3rd.
Round down day, next.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Down on the menu.
Okay, item 16 then is going to be approval of agent change for Joe Smith Investment LLC doing business as J.R. Capone's 7330 North, 7330 Plover Road to Laura West. This is due to unfortunate death of Mr. Smith. West, excuse me.
Jared West.
Jared West passed away. The business at this current time is closed. However, they are looking to possibly open it up on special events, weddings, that type of stuff. And at this time, it's currently not scheduled to be open, but we do need to correct the ownership and
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion to approve the agent change for Joe Smith Investments LLC to Laura West.
I'll second it.
motion, Kathy second Dan, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, item 17, discussion of Wood County tax deeded property 07-01841, which is up for bids for Wood County. This kind of was on here because this is the piece that you folks in
Right.
Plan Commission met on it. It's parcel of land by 9th Street, or two parcels that are possibly put together there, that is going for tax deeded sale coming up, and currently the owner is Wood County. We've had a request from Jared Geiser to rezone it prior to the actual purchase. And I believe the Plan Commission, you can just update us as
Right.
what their discussion was, and
Well, I guess technically the only reason it's on the agenda is if the board wished to bid on it.
Right, I was
The
gonna say, I don't
rezoning
think
and none
the
of that
rezoning is
is
out
listed
today.
on our agenda. So I got the letter, I'm passing it on to the board to make a decision on whether they want to bid on it, which is what the letter refers to, so
okay,
anything beyond that would be non.
okay, I apologize.
Okay.
First mistake today.
Have we been on taxi before?
Nah,
Yeah.
Well, we have.
They do.
we've bought one cul-de-sac a number of years ago that were Cherrywood sub in, off of Wintergreen subdivision that we're gonna do some work in this winter. But I
That
guess,
was $100.
yeah. So if there's, I assume there is no interest of us buying property. Right. Move on, next item then. Item 18, software upgrade needed for clerk's accounting program. Judy explained she had some issues when she tried to open up the new year, can you believe that?
My version is from 2010, and anybody that's familiar with computer programs, you need to keep updating them. It's to the point where their versions and their fixes and their programs pretty soon will not support this version. So it needs to be upgraded. It'll be a cost of about $11.70.
I'll make a motion to approve the upgrading.
Motion Bill,
I'll second.
second Patty. Discussion?
Did we budget for this?
Nope.
Nope.
I
But-
didn't have any, I didn't have any problems when I was in the budget.
Imagine.
5,000 is computer equipment.
So doesn't
it fall under that?
Yes. For now.
it's, yeah.
I do not wanna take it out of computer equipment.
Well, you had another line you're gonna use it.
If I take it out of my computer software, which would overrun that line item, that line item is included in all of the general government, the whole big category. And unless that big category goes over at the end of the year, there's no reason to make budget adjustments. But I'm a little leery on taking, that kind of amount out of our computer support, our computer equipment line.
So you'd pull it from where now, though?
Well, right now, it would just go under my support, my
Okay,
software
software
support,
support, okay.
which that will be over, but the overall budget number that's approved is not.
Right. All right, any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Have an aye, any opposed? Item 19, Chris has got some, Treasurer Chris Ginner's got some garbage and recycling changes, person improperly charged, question,
Yes,
parcels, I should say.
Golden Eagle Log Homes, obviously their structure was taken down, so they would like a refund on their garbage and recycling. Tanglewood Property and Development on, is he on 8th Street? He raised his structure prior to January 1, so he would like a refund as well. Typically, if there's no structure there, obviously they don't have to pay garbage and recycling. These other two are different. I had a property owner, her name is Donna Kuhn. They have, from what I understand, it's 2 homes on 1 lot, but it's being kind of coded as a duplex. However, since her husband passed away a couple years ago, she has not been renting out the other home, which from what I understand is probably no bigger than this meeting room.
Oh,
Don?
this one's a lot bigger.
This room's bigger. Anyway, so she had the power disconnected from it and the gas lines removed from the building. So
what I'm asking is typically if any home in Grand Rapids, unless it's condemned or unlivable, we require garbage and recycling pickup, even if they're only there, snowbirds, for an example, or whoever's not there for a full year still is required to pay for it. I don't think that her home, this second piece that she was renting out, is livable anymore. It doesn't have heat or power to it. So she's asking, she did pay for it, but she's asking for a refund. I told her I would find out what you guys thought. And the other one, I feel like he's supposed to pay for it, and I think you guys might too. Danny O'Day, over on,
Saratoga.
Saratoga Street. He has that, it's not massage, but some
Therapeutic
type
something.
of therapeutic service. He does not have, usually when a business, we have a business in Grand Rapids, if it's not a home-based business, they have a commercial pickup. He does not have commercial pickup, but he doesn't feel like he should have to use residential pickup either, because he said he only has a few pieces of paper that he burns. And I'm just asking what your opinion is on this. I told him that I did not think he would be excluded from the rules of having to pay for garbage and recycling. So, those are the four that, I need your opinion on.
Go ahead, Bill, questions?
And the first two, they're not commercial, I mean, log homes, so what was taken down
Well,
there?
that house that was burnt.
The one that was, the
Oh,
fire
oh,
department
okay,
burnt
okay.
down, and
Yeah,
then,
that's-
I can't picture where this other one is. It was, Gordy Whipperford, Tanglewood Property Development.
Yeah, just south of,
Yeah, so that's kind of, that sounds like a business, no?
He raised
That's a
that,
home.
was it
there
a
was a
home
house there,
that
it was
just
raised.
He said he raised it prior to January 1. And I confirmed it with Larry, actually, that there was no longer a,
I thought they were just there last week disconnecting the gas, but maybe
Okay.
I'm not positive.
okay, I just went
He
by what
talked
the
about it.
property owner told me and what I asked Larry, and he said, yeah, that's gone. Or he said it was gone, or would be gone prior to January 1, so.
I think she was all but the last one, yes.
So then,
And that,
Mrs. Donna Coons,
yeah, and that third one, she lives in one of them.
she lives
So
in the
she's
home.
paying- She's paying for the home.
She was paying double
Yeah,
fees.
because of there was two.
Correct.
So now she's still just paying for the home, but the other one is more or less
It's,
Sure.
things are disconnected from it, it's not
Cold
livable.
storage.
Okay,
And the last one was a residence,
no,
That's
not
business.
a
getting,
business.
he built it as it wasn't it's not a home, nobody lives there. He built it for the simple purpose of operating his business out of it for his therapeutic massage type activity.
Which he does, correct?
He does.
it is, so it's commercial.
We inspected.
And so then he should pay, but he should also not get pickup. If pickup happens to go by and see something, they should just not pick it up, isn't
But they
that,
will,
isn't that
But they will.
the right way?
That's correct, they will.
they will pick it up.
Because he's not a home occupation business, right? Because it's not out of his home.
I don't know what he's
Nobody's living there, are they?
zoned.
No.
No, and if it's commercial,
We inspect
there's
that.
nothing that's
It is a
required
business?
for them to have pickup.
Is it zoned commercial then?
Yeah,
Yes.
but we don't care if this store don't have garbage pickup, they're not getting curbside, right?
Right.
Because,
I think we should, in that respect, because we don't charge commercial, we should not charge him, but I think we should make it very clear, because it is in our contract, that they're not to be picking up
Right.
yes,
Okay.
the commercial.
As long
And
as they know
so,
that it's commercial.
Yeah,
his
it
few
looks like
pieces
a
of paper,
house.
he's gonna have to take himself to the dump or wherever.
Okay,
But going by, I'm just thinking of the haulers, you know, they don't flag. I mean, if it looks like a home or whatever and something's out there, they're most likely
Well, we might
Or
have to
we
be a
can
little more
flag 'em.
proactive on our end.
gonna, exactly.
Yeah.
but if you tell them to take it off, that's two less you pay, you know. You would not be paying for that in your next month's bill,
Right, our contract.
yes. We don't care if they pick it up, there's, you know,
Right.
advanced disposal is not collecting.
That's true, it's
for it.
only hurting advanced disposal, not
Yeah,
us.
hurting
We're not gonna
advanced.
pay
They
for
pick
it
it up.
because they should not be on the
True.
list.
All right, so do we have is that a motion? Did you actually make a motion on that, Bill?
He did for 3 out of the 4.
Was that seconded?
Yeah, do whatever was said.
First it was 3 out of the 4, and that's
Yeah.
true, but now it's kind of
I
sounds like
didn't, I didn't hear a
we're going
second to your
to.
motion, so that motion failed due to lack of a second then.
So I'll make a motion then that we approve all 4 of them. and-
To be refunded.
To be refunded.
Correct.
Motion Dan, second
A second.
Kathy. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And notify
Any opposed?
advance about that.
Okay. Discuss sending a letter of support, supporting HR Bill 5811, an act to amend the IRS code, provide a charitable donation for services of volunteer fire departments, firefighters, and emergency medical rescue personnel. We're asked to consider signing on to a letter of support. You've got the bill in front of you. Basically, the bill would allow, if it is passed and signed and becomes the act, would state that each hour of qualified service a fireman could consider it as a $20 contribution and become tax deductible for a total of not to exceed 300 hours annually, or roughly a $6,000 tax deduction. That's what it would be. As everybody knows, the volunteer fire service, and we've talked about it so many times, the state of Wisconsin, 80%, I believe, is the number of areas that's covered by volunteers. Everybody understands the volunteers' value of their time. And I believe when I read somewhere just recently, $140 billion was saved by volunteer fire departments over what wages would have been if not. So they're, again, as volunteers, even though they do receive a small stipend from us, are still considered volunteers, and I would recommend that we sign on to the letter to the state and House of Representatives that we are in support of Bill HR 5811. I'll make that in form of a motion.
I will second.
Motion by Arnie, second by Dan. Discussion, Bill.
I think this is a good thing. It's going around nationwide. However, I think we should construct this resolution to have the county unit of the Wisconsin Towns Association, the Wood County unit, and have them pass it as a whole unit. And then the Wisconsin Towns Association then present it in part of their legislative platform.
Well, it depends on the timing of the bill, quite frankly, Bill. I don't see any reason at all that local support can't come from. As you know, that the closest piece of government to the people is town government, and I believe that it's very important for us to be, if not one of the first, some of the first to sign on as our support of it.
Then they have WTA do it too.
We can ask them to.
Right,
Exactly,
I was just gonna ask that
that's what I
question to Bill, is that can we,
We can ask them.
contact WTA and have them, if we, all 5 of us can individually contact and say that we ask for their support.
That's a good plan.
Yeah. And I believe, like Arnie said, town support is very crucial along with, and Bill, if you could spearhead that for us, we'd appreciate it. The board and the fire department to get that taken care of.
Any further discussion?
How did this originate or come to us?
It got mailed into us by email through probably the Fire Chiefs Network, correct?
No, Karen Madden said it.
Now, it's
I've heard of it.
going around
Quite
the
a bit.
county. It's a great thing. It's initiated in Wisconsin.
Let's show us our support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Am and aye, any opposed? We'll have a document to sign maybe before we go tonight. All right, resolution 2015-01, amending ordinance 67 governing weights limits. This was what came through legislative and is what was passed or printed in the paper. This ordinance will add the units of husbandry, in other words, implement of husbandry, which are the farm implements, and allow for a process for them to exceed the actual weight limits with the approval of a process. This is option E, which has been recommended by FOAM, and we gave our total support at the legislative for this. Am I correct? Is there a motion to approve it as presented?
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 67, governing weight adding implements of husbandry, 67.7.
Motion Patty, second
I'll second.
Kathy. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm an aye, any opposed? Item 22, December disbursement vouchers. Any questions on those? Hearing nothing, item 23, operator licenses.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the 1-year operator license application for Marjorie Tell, Marjorie Steakhouse, Faith Walker at J.R. Capone's, Josiah Weigel at Fred's Corner Mart, and Laura West from J.R. Capone's.
I'll second that.
Motion Kathy, second Dan, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm an aye, any opposed? No opposed, thank you. Item 24, monthly reports from committees. I'll start off with Public Works. Rick's been here. Rick, you tired or what? Are you tired? Having some discussion with Rick this evening, want the public to know that all subdivisions have now already been plowed 6 times this season. It's kind of getting a little old for the guys already, but we're trucking on through here. One thing we do track is the number of deer carcasses we pick up on an annual basis. There's roughly 56 carcasses picked up and disposed of properly. I guess it's been over 50 carcasses a year for the last 3 or 4 years, so we still could use some more bow hunters and et cetera, to help us out. Other than that, equipment, as far as I know, is all up and running, Rick, eh?
Correct.
We did get our new grader, not new grader, but the new wing and plow on, the end loader. And we have the old piece which I'll put off until August or September to put it to auction when it's a more appealing time to put a wing and plow out for sale. I want to hold that off till towards the fall so we can consider that. Other than that, we are starting to develop a possible plan for what roads we want to take a look at. I'll have a Public Works meeting in the not too distant future. We'll start to formulate what kind of roads we want to take care of this year again. Questions, Public Works?
Are we gonna do a town road trip together?
We could.
That would be good.
After the election, typically is what we do, but we'll try to get a start at it. So if there's an opportunity to look at some of the roads that are coming up on the radar, then you can certainly take a look at those.
How are we doing on salt and sand?
Good. We did spend quite a bit in the month of November and December on salt, but that's all we had with a lot of snow.
Anything else on Public Works? Airport Commission, Bill.
We've got a meeting coming up Thursday night, and we're gonna talk about hangar, about construction of a hangar by Todd and Dooman, and also the planting of the trees, and we're gonna do some cleanup. And I'll get a written report after the meeting out in the baskets.
Okay. And just a reminder, you were gonna get the FBO reports for us?
Yes, they should be, I just got them today, and Peggy should put them in your baskets tomorrow when she comes in.
Okay.
Because she's gonna make a copy of those.
Okay,
Get it
thank you.
back.
Yeah, I think it's important for us to,
Yes.
kind of gives us a feel of who's coming into the town, because it does indicate who's bringing planes in.
Yes.
And it gives you a feel what's going on, and maybe it's first-hand information, sometimes it's second. If you see catalysts on an airplane coming in months ago, we kind of probably figured out what was going on when we. All right, you got anything on recycling, solid waste?
Yes, recycling and solid waste, thank you. A meeting coming up on the 19th, advanced disposal will be there, other municipalities. we will be preparing for a annual report and also come for a request for a choose to reuse program.
Okay. Anything else? Plan commission, Patty?
We met last night and we had one dog exemption approval. We had a discussion with one owner for a renewal of a dog exemption because there were complaints against this particular owner. So we worked with them. We gave them a variance to some time to try to train the dogs from that barking. And we told them that if it doesn't cease, they will have their permit revoked. And then we had the final plat recommendation for Hunter's Ridge. It's a second edition. Can't remember, well, there it is up there. 47. How many lots? I think there was something like,
14, I think.
the whole Hunter's Ridge is like 50, 47?
Yeah, that's a nice.
52 lots, I think, on there.
I've seen, well, actually 50, almost 60, huh?
Okay, 60 lots, so nice subdivision that's going up. And then we also had discussed the dog exemption permit renewal process and procedure. And I'll be writing our recommendations to go back to the legislative committee to revise or to talk about it again. And then also we talked about the rezoning from R2 to B1 commercial property on the Wood County property that's having bids on it.
Okay.
And also, we got a report that there were 15 new homes that were built in the town this past year.
Good. Any questions? Move on to public buildings. Any?
We did not meet, but you and I are working on with the lighting update for the fire department and working with Focus on Energy.
Okay. Legislative committee, we all met last week it was, discussing developing a change to one of our ordinances that pertains to social hosting, which basically means the adult that allows a underage child to have a party at their house, and if it's been investigated and determined that that adult broke the law by allowing the social hosting, the fines would then increase. It's something that is becoming more and more concerns, and even the kids from the junior highs are bringing it to our attention to develop this. Our ordinance would, in current place, does not allow it, of course, but the fines are minimal. So it's going through a process of being reviewed to increase those things to certainly discourage anybody from providing alcohol to minors. Other thing we're working on is one of our ordinance that pertains to events. Events that are going to take a use of part of the town roads. Currently we have a couple of events last summer that used the roads, and one particular case we had no knowledge at all that the event was going on. So we want to put something into our ordinance that would regulate events if they're going to use the town roads. For example, the YMCA did a triathlon, Renaissance Learning did a run, and they used part of our road, but we want to put something in place so that our police and our auxiliary are notified so that they can work together with them to make it a safe event. So we're changing that ordinance. Pretty much those are the two things that we had that were of any, yeah, and which we just passed. All right, then, public safety, anything?
There's no public safety meeting. I am continuing to work with the fire chief and his officers as directed by the ad hoc strategic planning committee to come up with a draft strategic plan of the fire department. And then I will be scheduling an ad hoc committee meeting very soon, so that we can proceed and move forward on that.
Okay, any questions? Economic development, Dan?
Last night, we did have a economic development meeting in which we had a presentation from the YMCA regarding just beginning and gathering information regarding the possibility of partnering with them and other municipalities on the aquatic center that's coming up. Again, it was just the initial contact, and we are going to continue gathering information and seeing what part, if any, we can play in this partnership. It was good information.
Okay, any questions?
Yeah, did they specify anything as far as what exactly they're looking for?
No.
You know, is it financial, is it?
They're just gathering to see if we are interested in pursuing talks as far as different possibilities. But no, there was never anything specific brought to the table as far as dollars, or was it, how it would look. You know, and we will pursue that. And when we do get something together, we'll present it to the board.
And where are they planning on building that?
Right across from the hospital.
There's still conversation of a partnership with this virus. There was no.
There's no dedicated, they're looking,
Dedicated.
you know, that is the area that they're looking at, but,
And they mentioned that we were only the second of many municipalities that they want to have a conversation with, and that we're months out from having a financial decision to make. So we're fortunate that we're at stages where we can just continue to consider whether or not that is something that the town would want to pursue, and if so, how would you craft that up, and how would you invest?
Okay, thanks.
Personnel committee?
No
Nothing?
meeting.
Okay. You see a new one on there, WTA. I've thought it'd be a good idea. Some of us will go to the Wisconsin Towns Association once a month. And I thought it'd be a good spot to put on while we're doing monthly reports. If anybody attended the last month's meeting, if they had a quick report as to what was presented, it would be good. Time to do it. If not, that's fine. Reports from individual board members. Bill, anything?
I have nothing.
Dan?
I guess I would just like to say one thing that, especially my colleague to the right and left, I would really like you to come over to the fire department, take a look, come to some fire calls, see what we do. Again, there is the compensation that there was discussed earlier is very minimal to what the firemen endure, and even I would say that the loss in wages from time away from work, burnt clothes, fuel, whatever it may be, you would be surprised, probably outweighs the dollars that we do receive for responding. We have a very talented group who spend many, many hours at that department. The majority is not compensated at all, but we do it to support the community. Every one of us will still do it, will still be professional and continue carrying on like we always have. But I would really like you to investigate this and come over and see what we do, because we don't see you. We don't see you over there.
I just wanted to say it was a nice newsletter that you folks put out this last time, and I didn't get to mention it at the last meeting, so I just wanted to commend the work and how nice it was.
Okay, anything else? Chris, got anything?
Nope.
Kathy?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to also add to the comments that were made earlier about that fire burn that took place. I took advantage of the opportunity to go and observe what the firemen and women do, and I was amazed by what work that is put into controlling that fire or suppressing the fire. I watched them on the roof. I watched a fireman have a near incident where EMS had to help him out with his gas mask and such, air mask. I was like a little kid running around. I was going up to the chief, hey, what are they doing now? I was going up to the officers that I knew and I was asking for instructions and I wanted to understand, and it goes right in hand with what Dan just said. There's no way I would want to be a fireman first off, and there's no way I could see doing it for $15. I just applaud you guys and everyone out there, a firemen who are watching, for what they do. And I would hope that when we bring this back to the table, we have more knowledge and education that we bring with us to the table about why we should be compensating them differently.
Judy, anything tonight? Final comments from myself. The state convention is coming up this year. We're going to block some rooms.
I'm calling Thursday.
Okay, thanks, Chris. And with that, to move to item 26. Again, this is a wrap-up for the public. Anybody wishing to speak to the board again, one more time, there's limited to 2 minutes. Go ahead, Mike.
Hi, I'm Mike Swikowski with the Grand Rapids Fire Department. I'm a captain on there. And one thing I guess I don't understand, we were budgeted this $50,000 for the fire department. I don't understand how people can micromanage what we need. When I was a member of the fire department, not an officer, I would depend on my officers to make the best decisions what they spend that money on. When we have our officer meetings, we seriously want the most out of our dollar to go to safety on our firefighters. As far as compensation for me, I really don't care one way or the other. I'm going to do my job. It's a privilege for me to be on this department. But when you get young guys, they don't make much money. They're working their jobs. They're paying for their cars. They're, and going out and doing everything. That compensation they're getting is so slight. And what they're putting themselves into, it just hurts me. I train all these people that come on. I spend 8 hours on each individual. I'm not asked for compensation for that. And it's just, I just wish, we have some positive comments from the board. People come out and watch what we do. You gotta come out there. We don't get that call at 2 in the morning last night at 17 below and say, you know what? I think I'm gonna table that page right now and then I'll bring it up in the morning. There's never once that we're not gonna come and do our job. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to address the same issue. I personally watched my barn burn down in Vesper at 0 degrees, and to tell you the truth, the compensation is, when I talked to Judy about what the volunteer firefighters get compensated for a call, and I was shocked, because $15 is in my personal thoughts and minds ridiculous. The reason why I feel that way, we have a list of people that are willing to volunteer. That's fantastic. We need to continue to provide the support to our community to keep them safe. A barn or a garage is nothing, but a house, $30,000 to $200,000 worth of your personal pictures, cameras, computers, whatever's in there. So $10 an hour after a $15 call, it's their budget. Stop micromanaging and let them do their job, because that's ridiculous.
Harold?
Yes, is there some other way to help compensate the firemen, volunteer firemen? sometimes a letter, a pat on the back of a good job done, something like this will go as far as an extra few dollars, or maybe more. I'm not saying not do a few more dollars for them, but along with that, something else above and beyond. Recognition, I think, would go a long ways with them.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Mr. Head?
Ron Head again. Based on our assessment rate of, for a $10,000 change in our budget, it cost me, every citizen here, $2 per year per $100,000 assessment. If we change the budget $10,000 up or down on a $100,000 assessment, that costs you $2 a year. That's not a week, that's not a month, it's a year. So the $1,800 we were talking about here for the fire department was 40 cents a year. The $1,170 we were talking about for the budget for Judy's software was 20 cents a year. You know, and I appreciate you guys with taking the pains you do to keep our taxes low. But once in a while, the impact isn't realized, you know. It isn't, some of this stuff is pretty cheap. You know. The other thing I wanted to say is that when you guys are out on your road trips, and I know this is hard to do, but if you wait till after it rains and when the pavement starts to dry and the water is still in the cracks, and then go take a look, it's a whole different perspective because you can see all the cracks on something you just drive down and you think it's a pretty good road.
Thank you. Any other comments out there?
Just want to make a comment.
Yes, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I just want to say, I think it's encouraging the YMCA has approached the town about an aquatic center. I don't know if anybody's aware here, but the Village of Port Edwards is actually closing their pool, and this coming year won't be open. The West Side Pool in Rapids is pretty much going year to year as far as I know right now. So we may be at a point in this region where we don't have any access to a public pool. A lot of people say, well, big deal, we have lakes. Well, we're reaching a point now with a lot of the lakes that are being closed in summer due to health reasons and things like that. And they're generally not a safe environment for especially young kids trying to learn how to swim. I think it would be a really sad thing if we reach a point where our area here can't support an aquatic center of some sort. You know, one thing that's kind of misleading, I think a lot of people think this aquatic center is going to be like a Wisconsin Dells type attraction, which, I mean, people might come from ways away to go there, but it's also going to be for people of all ages, 0-degree entry and things like that. So keep that in mind too. It's not just going to be for young kids, it could be for people of all ages in the community. I'm just happy to see that they've approached the town, and I hope the town keeps an open mind in conversation with them as they move forward. Thank you.
Any other comments? Thank you. If not, we'll move to item 27, is discuss if there's anything specific other board members want to add it to the next agenda. Hearing none, Chairman will form it with the clerk's able assistance. Item 28, motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Dan, second. Kathy, all in favor say aye. Aye. Tom and I, we are adjourned, and don't forget to sign the letter.
I will.